Welcome to the woolly world of Westknits, episode 1. I wanted to make this little series, or I hope it might be a series if you enjoy it, filled with all these news updates and previews of new patterns, and basically just what's going on in my life, knitting and dog related too, because we have some important updates. There's a lot going on behind the scenes with new patterns and workshops and all that stuff. So grab some knitting and just enjoy some knitspiration and some little PUPDATEs. So let's get started with the first section, PUPDATEs. It's obvious from Instagram, if you've been following me, that this is an exciting time in the Westknits world because we have a new update to the Westknits family, and her name is Stitch. Now, her brother Brioche is playing with all his friends today, so it's just dad and daughter bonding time. She has a lot to live up to with that name, Stitch. You have a lot of modeling to do, and I'm just like thrilled that Brioche can have someone to play with. So you're definitely going to be seeing a ton more from this little Stitch puppy. She's a 4.5-month-old Frenchie, and she loves modeling. Don't you, Stitch? And sleeping. Those are her two favorite activities, modeling and sleeping. And this is the first sweater I made for little Stitchy. It's a little Brioche sweater. I made Brioche, her brother, a bunch of these Brioche sweaters, and I'm working on the pattern for this, but I don't have all the sizes done yet. So if you have a dog that you want to knit this sweater for, I'd love for you to comment down below what kind of dog is in your life, what kind of knit-worthy dog would you want to knit one of these sweaters for, so I could get an idea of like how to size this pattern. For her, it's really easy. This is like a little Chihuahua Frenchie size, the size of a big potato, right, Stitch? So I need to just size this pattern, and it's something you'll probably see from Westknits later this year. But a little preview with all those fun brioche stitches, and it fits her really nicely, at least for now. She eats a lot, so it might last you a few more weeks. What do you think, Stitch? Yeah, she's gonna need like a sweater in every color. And then there's gonna be matching sweaters with Brioche and Stitch in the future. That's just inevitable. So yeah, love of my life. She's a really good little knitting companion, and she's with me behind the scenes of all the workshops I've been filming. And it's just like so nice to have a little pup companion, except when I turn my back, she loves alpaca and mohair. So you take after your father in that way. But yeah, as soon as I like turn around to get a drink of water and I come back, if my knitting is out, she always goes for the fluffy yarns. So she has very good taste, a little bit too good for my liking. So I just have to keep a close eye. So there's some safety hazards there with that alpaca, but keeping a close eye on you, and hopefully she grows out of that. We'll see. So that's the PUPDATE with little Stitch. You're gonna see a lot more from her, and hopefully a lot more patterns. I think there needs to be like a puppy collection in the future, perhaps. Maybe taking a lot of old Westknits and reimagining them for pups. I don't know, what do you think? If you have some like recommendations for like what kind of Westknits patterns or sweaters or shawls that I could like reinterpret into like pup versions, what should I do? I don't know. So that takes me to what I'm working on. So I'm working on a lot of these little brioche pup sweaters because it's still cold in Amsterdam. We had like a glimpse of spring and then it was over. So I've been making these brioche pup sweaters, and I've been making lots of penguino and penguino projects. This is my all-time favorite design that I've ever made, the penguino. Maybe there needs to be a pup guono. I need to maybe do a fitting and see if the mini penguino would fit little Stitch. But I've been making 2 projects. That doesn't mean I only have 2 works in progress. There's like 30 at various stages of completion, but the 2 that I'm focusing on are this big penguino. Do you want to go down? Okay, go down and play. So this big penguino I've been obsessed with because it uses all these scraps and leftovers. And if you haven't made one of these penguino jackets, I totally recommend it because it just is so freeing, and it forces you to mix different fibers and yarn types together. And it has a sweet place in my heart because when I first made my very first penguino, I had no idea what I was making. And that's how I design a lot of things, is I just cast on. So when I was making penguino for the first time, I think it has a cast on of 50 stitches. I think I was 24 or 25 at the time. So I just cast on twice my age, right? I'm spilling all my design secrets. A lot of it is really random. I just choose random numbers to get started. And I made this back piece, and then it took on a life of its own as you do these welt textures and stripes. And yeah, it's a really fun modular jacket. So I'm actually making this again because I'm in the middle of filming a new Westknits workshop all about the penguono. So I'm gonna be showing you every step and casting on and all the stitch details. So it's gonna come probably later in the summer or so. So a little preview for you if you wanna knit the penguono, but are a little bit scared of the techniques, or you haven't done marling before and mixing fibers. I'm gonna do a whole workshop all about how to knit the penguono. So really fun. Really convertible. It's like a big boxy size, so you can wear it with all kinds of layers and style it up. But yeah, so fun. I was just having a delight diving through my stash and finding yarns that I forgot I even had. Like I mixed in some like Icelandic wool that I collected years and years ago, and I found it because Little Stitch actually grabbed it from one of my buckets and like chewed it apart. And I was like, great, I didn't know I had that. Now I don't have it. She ruined one of the colors, but I had like 6 other colors that found their way into here. Maybe I could take her shredded leftovers that are all chewed up and make some fringe onto the penguono. Yeah, I gotta repurpose everything. So that's the big penguono I'm working on, and I'm also making a penguino. So if you're familiar with the Westknits world of penguono, penguonodom, then you know there's a penguino, a mini version. So I'm making this baby. This might even be too big for Stitch. She would just like fall out of this, but yeah, this is a toddler size. So all the patterns and stuff I'm mentioning in this video, I'm gonna link down below. But another good stash busty leftover, a really fun project to knit as gifts. This is about my 4th penguino I've knitted. I used to teach this workshop a lot on the road when I traveled and taught a lot in the US, and haven't been traveling and teaching, as we all know. Yeah, there's not been much traveling going on, but I'm trying to get my fix from that inspiration I got from traveling and teaching. I'm injecting that into these Westknits workshops. So I'm gonna make this penguono workshop come to life digitally for you later this year. Yeah, really fun, super cute. And I honestly just don't know what color I'm gonna use next. So I start with a bucket like this, and I just grab and go and mix mohair, and I have some Tweety yarn in there. Always some fluff. You always gotta have some fluffy textures. And this is the final one, the little penguino. And there's all sizes. You can knit this from like baby size up until like preteen, too cool for school size, up into those early teenage years. So the penguono, you can have it for the whole family. But those are my 2 main works in progress, and I think I'm gonna finish them pretty quick. The first penguono that I ever knit, I made it in 5 days. Yeah, that's not normal. I didn't do anything else than knit, but yeah, I like just was so addicted to how it was being constructed, and it's a chunky gauge too, okay? It's not a fine fingering weight schlanket, so it doesn't take too long, so yeah. You can find these patterns, you can get them now, but you can also look forward later this summer. It's a little sneak preview of a new Westknits workshop coming up. All right, new patterns. There have been a lot of new patterns this year in the world of Westknits, and there's gonna be more. So I wanted to do just a quick recap of a couple of my favorite new sweaters that came out. There's gonna be new patterns almost every other week or so this coming spring and summer, maybe like every few weeks or so. Because when I'm designing things, what you're seeing is usually what I've designed like 3 to 6 months ago, or sometimes even a year ago. And it just takes a long time for things to get finished and test knitted and photographed and all of that. But the one I think that I was most excited about to start this spring with was the DUSTLAND sweater, because it's only with 1 color. And that's like really weird. Whenever I knit something with 1 color or knit something in gray, it's because I need that calmness in my life. And to me, like knitting a solid color thing is like, feels like I'm doing the craziest thing. I don't know, I feel like I'm in drag when I'm wearing a single color. When I wear my multicolor stuff, I'm like, oh, This feels normal. But I wanted to do this single color project because it really shows off texture, and it kind of goes back to the other DUSTLAND textures in the DUSTLAND shawl and DUSTLAND hat, and there's all these other accessories. But I love the DUSTLAND sweater. It's really beginner friendly, and I was knitting both the DUSTLAND sweater and this GARTER MARLER sweater because I've been craving really simple projects. Yeah. You need to have balance in life. You gotta have these simple things that calm you down, and that gives you more space to get invigorated again with the more complex, more challenging projects. So you're definitely gonna see a lot more kind of simple sweaters from me this year, and yeah, a lot of big projects. Because I like that, yeah, that sense of time and that it takes to make a sweater and a blanket. You get to pick your colors and then have like weeks and weeks and weeks of just enjoying one project without stressing about what you're gonna cast on next. So yeah, very beginner friendly, and it kind of reminds me of the first sweater I ever made, which was, I think maybe 15 or 16 years ago. And I remember when I was making my first sweater, someone told me, oh my gosh, it's gonna take so much time. You gotta prepare, get all of your yarn, make sure it's the same dye lot. It's gonna take you months to finish a sweater. But they underestimated how obsessive I am with things. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit obsessed when I get into things like shawls and bright colors and collecting puppies, I guess. So my first sweater took me like a few weeks to make because that was all I did. I just didn't put it down, and it was, yeah, so fun to make a full garment finally after making hats and shawls. So if you're thinking about doing a sweater and you haven't made one yet, just start it, okay? And don't let the fear of completing it or how to make it prohibit you from just starting, because when you take things section by section, it's always much easier. And you just gotta, yeah, kickstart and just dive in and force yourself to get going with it. And then I think you'll be surprised by how easy and flowy it goes once you're actually in it. So my first sweater was this blue sweater with some similar textures from like an old Rowan magazine. And I messed up a bunch of the cable twists, but it was a dark heathered blue color anyway, so you couldn't see any of the details. So that would maybe be one thing I recommend with the DUSTLAND sweater, is to pick a dark color if you don't want to see any mistakes that you make while you knit. If you use a really bright color or a light color, you're gonna see every stitch detail, which is great. Just make sure you're not crisscrossing those stitches, and yeah, or just say whatever, and it's just texture. So if there's variation in the texture, just tell your friends you invented a new stitch, okay? Does that sound good, Stitch? Yeah. So yeah, DUSTLAND sweater is probably one of the easiest sweaters I've designed in a while. And then the GARTER MARLER just came out. This is a new one, all in garter stitch, and it's designed to use all your fingering weight leftovers. So it's really stash busty and relaxing to knit. It's just knits and purls. And I'm actually now working on a cardigan version. So stay tuned. Yeah, I just started that pattern. So again, you might see it in like 3 months minimum, but probably not till the fall or winter. Yeah, it takes a long time for these ideas to go from, yeah, idea to finished pattern. But these are my two favorite sweaters. Both are really beginner friendly, so I hope if you haven't knit a sweater that you might try one of these patterns or get inspired to cast on something else to have a spring sweater. All right, we need a little snack break. This is the snack break of the episode. Stitch just learned how to sit. She's probably off camera now, but we sit on my lap, Stitch. Yeah, I wish I could teach her how to listen and not chew my yarn, but we're starting with sit, and we'll go with please don't destroy my knitting as her trick number 2. So are you gonna sit for me? Stitch, sit, sit. Yeah, oh, that's a half sit. Yeah, there's a full sit. She's really good at sitting in the bike basket too, which is better than her brother, who tried to jump out of my basket one time. He's never tried that move since. I had him like tied to my handlebars, and he like rolled out of my basket and was just like dangling there. Yeah, he's never tried that move since, but yeah, Stitch is a little bit better of a listener. Those big ears are actually working, I think. Yeah, Brioche, those big ears are just decorative. He's a little more stubborn. Let's dive into some Westknits kits. So we always have like tons of new kits at Stephen and Penelope, and you may have noticed the last few years we've done these color palettes from Qing Fibre, And they're some of my favorite projects to work on because I just love Layla's color aesthetic at Qing Fibre. There's just so many nuanced tones in them. So we've had the Sea Swell shawl, the Lava Lake shawl, and the Fiery Foliage color palette. And we're gonna do a new green color story. So these colors just came out as a pre-order, and they're these lush, grassy, foresty greens. And so it's 5 shades on her BFL base. So these are all the colors wound up with these beautiful speckles and variegated color tones. And there's gonna be a new pattern for these yarns that comes out by August. But the pre-order is happening now, so you can collect all these skeins at Stephen and Penelope. And we're gonna start shipping these by the middle of July so that we can see how many of you want these kits, and they'll be dyed custom to order. But there'll be this beautiful light to dark fade in the BFL base from like a really silvery, celery, misty gray into these mint tones, and there's really rusty orange flecks throughout all of the colors. And it gets a little more saturated into more grassy greens with a really smooth fade transition. And then it gets really saturated and lush into those like jungle foresty greens. So all 5 colors come as the Lush Landscape kit. So it's a brand new kit that we're launching with Qing Fibre. They're all custom colors that she dyes for us at Stephen and Penelope. And on the BFL base, which is a really like a high twist, really sturdy type of yarn. So it's soft, but doesn't pill very much. And it's the same yarn I used for my Slipstravaganza shawl a couple years ago. And this is a Chevron Shenanigans in the BFL base. And it pills like ever so slightly. And I've had this shawl for like 3 or 4 years, and I've like danced and rolled around with it. And yeah, it looks brand new. So if you're worried about things pilling or getting worn over time, then I think BFL is gonna be your best friend, because it's a fiber that has a really long staple length. So it's not so short and delicate like fine merino or those fine micron count wools. So BFL is superwash, and yeah, it really lasts over time. Stitch, you going down? There we go. So yeah, this is the Chevron Shenanigans done with 5 shades of Qing Fibre. So you could also knit the Chevron Shenanigans with the Lush Landscape color palette, or any of the 5 skein fade designs that I have. I'll link all those down below. So if you want to knit an existing pattern with that Lush Landscape palette, yeah, you can knit anything you want. But by August, I'll be releasing a new shawl that's not going to be too difficult. Again, like I'm really into these easy, relaxing types of projects these days. So you'll get a beginner-friendly shawl project, but it's gonna be Westknits. So there's gonna be some funky little techniques and twists and turns probably in it, but yeah, not too difficult for that Lush Landscape. The Westknits Yarn Along. Okay, I wanna give y'all a little Yarn Along update, because some of you watching probably are subscribed to the Summer Yarn and Pattern Club. And if you're not, there's still a few spaces available. So I'll link that down below as well, the Westknits Yarn Along. We just finished shipping out the packages. So if you haven't received your May package yet, they should be arriving pretty soon. And the pattern comes out May 6th. And I can't show you it yet, it's a surprise, but it's really fun and graphic and easy to knit with like a cool construction twist to it. So if you like new shawls and like colors, there's some spaces for that available, the Westknits Yarn Along. It's basically like a summer yarn and pattern club. So I've been really busy designing all of those new shawls. It's all like custom colors, and we design new designs to go with the colors with lots of fun dyers. So you can check all that info out at Stephen and Penelope, but yeah, that's another thing I'm working on. And if you've signed up, then you'll be getting your yarn soon if you haven't already. And yeah, that pattern's coming out next week. So yeah, lots of shawls coming this summer for the Westknits Yarn Along. Westknits workshops are a lot of new videos that I've been working on this year, and I want to give a little recap of a few that have happened and a little teaser of a couple that are coming soon. So the last one that came out was all about brioche, and I love making these Westknits workshops because, again, I'm not traveling and teaching as much on the road, so it's my outlet to kind of get that inspiration out and show all the details up close with videos. And I do them all online, and we do them here in the studio, which is where I'm at now. And we just do a little table setup. We turn the lights on and just film a lot of chapters so that you can watch all the techniques and different lessons. But the last one that came out was all about brioche stitch. So if you haven't tried brioche yet, there's a whole workshop for it now, so we can practice, right, for our brioche pup sweaters. I'm getting sleepy into nap time. And maybe I should do, I think I need to do like a dog sweater workshop. What do you think, Stitch? Then you could be more involved in my day-to-day work life and not just sleep all day. So I think that could be really fun. So I've done a few workshops already about color and stripes and slip stitches. There's a marling workshop. There's a whole design your own shawl workshop as well. And so far they're all about 3 hours or 3.5 hours long. And you can watch them in all the chapters, just one chapter at a time, and come back to it whenever you want. But we're working on a lot more of those. So if you've seen some of the workshops, or if you're curious about learning something in the Westknits world, I would love to hear in the comments below what workshop I should do next. Should it be a dog sweater workshop? Or I've been doing a lot of like color play. I haven't done a workshop all about like fading. I don't know, would that be too simple? Or I could like mix fading with other color melting techniques and stripes. So let me know in the comments down below what kind of workshops I should do next. Because you're gonna see, yeah, quite a handful of new workshops this year. But yeah, I don't know if you're watching, if you don't know how to knit, should I do like a beginner workshop? Like show all my favorite tips? Maybe I could call it like the things I wish I knew 16 years ago when I started knitting that you now know. Workshop. That's a long title. Let me come up with a better name. But yeah, if you want to do some like beginner techniques or something like really more advanced and all about stitch textures, I'd love to know what you'd like to learn. Because the last one we did all these brioche swatches. So these are all on westknits.com, where you can learn syncopated brioche. We do 1-color brioche, 2-color brioche, increases, decreases. So I try to break it down and make it really easy for you. So if you've never done the brioche stitch, there's now all these lessons for you to learn with. And the next workshop, it's still about a month away, but it's gonna be all about modular knitting. So modular knitting is shawls like Vertices Unite, where there's all these sections knitted together instead of seamed together. And I really love this method of knitting because I don't not like stranded knitting. I just don't like stranded knitting. Because you're like juggling so many colors. I feel like I need to give it more of a try and like do it my own way. Maybe stranded knitting with texture. I don't know, I just feel like stranded knitting is so beautiful that I'm trying to like give it the most compliments without like crushing hard on stranded knitting. Stranded knitting is just too beautiful that I just don't want to ruin it. But kind of honestly, yeah, stranded knitting, it's been done so much and done so beautifully. I'm like, what else can I do with stranded knitting that's like, it's all been done amazingly already. So with modular knitting, it gives you that like color work satisfaction, but it's like dumbed down because you only work with 1 color at a time. Maybe not dumbed down, it's working smarter and not harder type of knitting. So you only work with 1 color at a time and you get these cool geometric stripes and shapes collaged together. Now that I'm saying stranded knitting, maybe I should like try to mix modular knitting with some like stranded sections. So you just like a little small section of stranded knitting. So you're doing a little bit of it and challenging yourself, and then going back to my garter stitch safety zone. And then maybe complicating it with brioche. Maybe I should do like a mashup workshop, like how to mix texture with shaping and like taking traditional stitches and like demolishing them with Westknits craziness. So chime down below what you think the next workshop should be, but I think there's some potential there for like taking some like classic elements like lace and stranded knitting and like ruining them, but still beautiful. I think I could come up with some things. But yeah, modular knitting, that's one of the workshops coming in about a month from now, still in springtime. And with that workshop, I'm gonna give you a sneak preview. So this is like a sister shawl to Vertices Unite. So this isn't out yet, but when the workshop comes out later this spring, you'll get this modular shawl with the workshop. And I show you like all the techniques on how to knit this beautiful, long, scarfy shawl shape. So if you've done Vertices Unite, this is looking familiar. It's got a lot of the same techniques, but totally different shapes and proportions and this really fun self-stripey centerpiece. So I'm not gonna show you too much of that because it's not out yet, but yeah, you can look forward to that for the modular workshop coming later this year. Well, I think that's all that I've been working on, at least all that I can share. There's a lot of behind the scenes, sneaky knit-along action happening. So keep on watching. I'll probably do some more of these episodes as new patterns and sneak previews come up and new workshops. If you like watching this kind of style of video, I'd love to hear that with the comments down below. If you want to see some more of these updates and kind of, yeah, what do you want to see more of? Do you like the sneak previews? Do you want to see like more behind the scenes kind of stuff, like around the studio, or more shop tours at Stephen and Penelope? Like, I don't know, like a monthly roundup of my favorite things. It's like Oprah's favorite things, but Westknits Woolly Wonders in Amsterdam. That could be fun, like taking a tour of the shop. So yeah, let me know, and we'll try some new content and new types of videos. And just a couple more last things. A lot of you have been asking about the Painting Shawls book, this print book that came out earlier this year. It is coming back. It's gonna be a little while. It takes a long time for these to be printed, but if you're waiting for the print book, just know that it's coming later this year. I don't have an exact date yet, but yeah, patience, please. It'll be a few more months, I think. But if you don't want the print book, there's also an ebook, so you can get the Painting Shawls book as a digital collection, but wait for the print book. If you want it, it is coming back. And an exciting thing too about patterns with Westknits, we've started putting them all up at westknits.com. So if you've been looking around or where to get this pattern that you're seeing on Instagram, they're always up on Ravelry, but we started putting all the patterns on westknits.com as well. And if you like seeing these updates, we also have a Westknits newsletter. So you can sign up at westknits.com. It's at the bottom of the homepage. You can sign up for the newsletter and get all these sneak previews as well. And every time there's a pattern launch, there's always a special discount code for newsletter subscribers only. So you want to check that out at westknits.com. And again, everything I mentioned, I'll link in this video down below so you can check out some of those new kits and patterns. And for the next episode, let me know what you want to hear more about. If you want to hear some more kind of inspiration or where Westknits started and where it is now, or yeah, any questions, maybe I'll do like a Q&A session in the next episode. So you can ask me any knitting questions and I'll pick some and answer them in the next one. So thank you so much for watching and for supporting Westknits with all the patterns and workshops and following the crazy dog life because it makes me keep on making these workshops and creating new designs for you. So I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to keep on sharing these episodes and all the new projects that are coming up later this year. So I'll see you in the next one.